you know, when you're looking at these films, you really got to pick something that really speaks to your soul and speaks to humanity on a whole level. I don't think there's anything better than Good Burger for that. That it shows the American corporatization of fast food in the food industry. Oh, that's so stupid. I have so many movies, and I have not watched hardly any of these. Letter Never Sent, one of the first Criterions I ever bought, and I've still never watched it. I only care about real art, you know? Like the truest of art. I think at this point everybody knows what the Criterion Collection is. Between the closet picks, the Barnes & Noble half-off sale, they've kind of become like the gold standard of the boutique collecting scene. And with over 1,000 titles in their collection, I figured let's narrow it down to 5. From my side of the list, these are all movies that I own and have seen, but I also got a special guest, Dylan Anglin, who also went through this list with me to pick 5 of his favorite Criterions, and I'm just going to let him take it away for a second.
So what's up? I just want to thank L.R. Smith for inviting me onto his channel. This is going to be a really fun video because I'm a big fan of the Criterion collection. I also think this video would be cool too for people that want to get into the collection but don't know what titles to pick up. We did have a little bit of an overlap, but I changed my list just a little bit so we don't. But I'm pretty sure the suggestions that we'll have will definitely be worth your time. I remember when I was first getting into the Criterion collection, there were so many titles and I didn't know which ones to pick, and Criterion is one of my favorite labels, if not my favorite label. So I've picked 5 of my favorite releases. I did this by supplements, packaging, artwork, just the enjoyability of the film, because I really do enjoy these 5 films a lot. So I won't waste any more time. Actually, I will. I'm going to throw in a plug. If you guys want to donate to our Indiegogo for Pesadilla, it would mean the world to us. We, at this moment, have over $16,000, which is awesome. So if you guys want to check that out, maybe the link will be down in the comments or the description below. But yeah, let's go ahead and get started.
Going through these picks, I did kind of take into consideration other things like the supplements or the packaging, which is where number 5 for my list comes in. Vampyr. Now this is a pretty cool black and white pseudo-silent film, but the reason why this is getting thrown in here is because it literally comes with the entire script. Like the script of the movie. The whole thing is right here, which is such a cool feature to include with a movie, especially one like this that relies more on the visual side of things. So it kind of plays out almost like a novel, and I haven't read it yet, but I really want to. It's just a really cool feature. I would love to see more releases do something like this where they include the entire script. As for the movie itself, kind of comes in this cool little digipack, and then it also has another book in here where it's talking about like the movie and stuff. First off, if you're a fan of somebody like Robert Eggers or Eggy Boy, then this is probably a movie you should watch. This is an old 1930s horror movie about a guy going to this village, and there's a lot of mystery happening about. I don't want to say too much because it kind of relies on its visual storytelling to kind of present the story and how it unfolds. But it's kind of goofy at some points. It's definitely a little aged, but the part that I really, really love about this movie, though, is the shot composition and the visuals. The cinematography is superb. There's actually some really cool, like, old camera tricks and effects in this movie as well. And I think the narrative is kind of subpar, honestly, but I think visually it's such a fascinating movie on a visual language, which is why it's also included on this my number 5. It's why it's my number 5. But it's also the packaging, because it also comes with an alternative version with English text, audio commentary from 2008 featuring a film scholar, a documentary on Carl Theodor Dreyer from 1966 chronicling Dreyer's career, a video essay on Dreyer's influences in creating Vampyr, and a radio broadcast from 1958 of Dreyer reading an essay about filmmaking. So there's a lot packed into this. Like, in terms of like supplements and stuff, in my opinion, this is probably one of the most like juiced up ones out there. So definitely recommend Vampyr. It's pretty cool. Like I said, it's shot wickedly awesome, which is why it made number 5 on my list. And also the box, like I said, it's been one of my favorite releases in terms of packaging and special features and extras and stuff in Criterion's lineup.
So at number 5, I have to throw in Andrei Tarkovsky, and this is probably his most accessible film, probably his most popular, and my personal favorite, although I really do like Nostalgia a lot, but it's not in the Criterion collection, and that's Stalker. This film is mesmerizing. I remember the first time I watched it, I'll never forget it. This film, the themes, it's got a deeper meaning to it that you couldn't even imagine. And if you look at some of the video essays or what have you, and even the history of the film production itself, it's crazy. It's just crazy what this film went through. But yeah, it's got oh wait, well I thought it did have a documentary on here. I guess not. But yeah, this film is fantastic, and the transfer for this is really good. I'm sort of iffy about the 4Ks that Criterion released. Not that I'm against it at all. It's just I like to get new releases, but this is one that I would love to see a 4K for. And even after watching this film, I would recommend looking at the history of it and sort of what they went through. I kind of don't want to spoil it because when I first listened to it, I was like, because I actually listened to the behind the scenes for this film before I watched it, I believe. And that just made it that much more mysterious and interesting. But Stalker, really good, a little bit of a slow burn, but definitely worth your time.
If you want to check out more of the behind the scenes of Stalker, Cinema Tyler has an absolutely amazing video breaking down the film and the behind the scenes production. It's a really fascinating story, and he did a great job with this video. My number 4 on my list is The Vanishing. Now, this is a movie that has never left me since I've watched it, and it's just continued to kind of go up on my list of like, my God, this movie's amazing. So if you don't know what this movie's about, it's about a man and a woman. I'm assuming his girlfriend, but maybe it was his wife. I can't remember exactly the status of their relationship, but they're together. That's the important part. They stop at this roadside rest, and she goes missing. Years go by, the man's still trying to find her, still kind of obsessed with finding her, and her abductor reaches out to him and is like, hey man, I will show you what I did to her if you want to come and listen to me for a little while. And it is super unnerving. The villain of this movie, I can't remember the name of the person who plays him, but like the villain killer of this movie is one of the best villains I've ever seen in a movie, period. He is unnerving, he is creepy, but he's also kind of incompetent in a way that makes him pretty believable, honestly. And the thing that really like solidifies is just like how horrific this film is it's like the curiosity kills the cat, you know what I mean? And you watch this movie unfold as it goes through, and you don't really know as it's going what's the truth and what isn't the truth. And I think the end of the film kind of lays it all out there, and it's kind of wild. It has one of my favorite scenes, I think, in terms of like just utter creepiness, and that's when this killer abductor dude has like a routine he wants to try when he's going to kidnap women and stuff, and he tries it like on his own daughter, and it is wild. Like, it is a wild scene that I'm like, holy smokes. I also think this film has some amazing visual foreshadowing as well. There's a lot of attention to detail that on a second watch, you're like, wait, what? Hold up now. I missed that the first time. You know what I mean? It's like one of those things. It has a super fun, kind of goofy, corny 80s score that kind of weirdly works. Like, it's very goofy sounding, but it also, like, totally works in this movie. Now, I do believe the director did an American remake of this, and I've never seen it, but I don't think I have to. Like, this movie is just fantastic on its own, and I super recommend it. In terms of special features, I mean, most Criterions come with a book, but this one is pretty bare. I actually think in terms of like the supplements and the bonus packaging and stuff, this is probably the least out of my 5. Because special features, you only get a interview with the director, an interview with one of the actors, and a trailer, and that's it. Like, there's hardly anything really attached to this. But I think this movie is so good and kind of a must-watch, that is why it's my number 4.
Carlo, metti le dita così.
So my number 4, and this is a very, very, very controversial film. And this is Spy Number 17. So this is a earlier work, or an earlier release for Criterion. And this is the very controversial film from Pier Pasolini, Salo, the 120 days of, I won't say the last part because I don't want the video to get flagged. So, you know, I don't want to even recommend this just to be edgy or just, you know, show you guys something that is very messed up, because this is probably the most messed up film I've ever seen, and I've even went as far as listening to the book for this film. Don't do that. It's not good. The packaging for this is amazing, and you know, it's actually kind of hard to find this. Like, I usually don't see this in Barnes & Noble often. I don't think I've ever seen this in Barnes & Noble.
I had looked for years in store to find this at Barnes & Noble during their half-off sale, and I never found it, so I just had it ordered offline one year. So good luck if you find it in person.
But yeah, I feel like this film is not promoted as much. I can maybe understand why, but this film is very, very important. It's very messed up, but this is one of those films where it shows you the dark underbelly of the world. It shows you things that you would not normally see in a film. And the restoration for this is beautiful. It's absolutely outstanding, because I've actually seen clips of this on YouTube, and I'm not sure. I know there's other releases for this film, but this feels like the essential release. Like, this feels like the #1 release that you can get. I don't know. I've seen this film, actually, I think I've seen it one time. It was out of stock or out of print. Don't quote me on that, because I remember trying to find this film and I couldn't. And then I found it on Criterion. I was just going to get the DVD, and I found the Blu-ray, and I was like, okay. Which I didn't recommend any out-of-print films in this. This film is just, it's exhilarating. It's messed up, and I guarantee you, whenever you finish watching it, you won't be able to stop thinking about it. When I first watched this film, I took a nap afterwards, and then whenever I woke up, I was not in a good spot.
My number 3 is Hausu, the 1977 Japanese haunted house movie that is just amazing. Now, if you don't know what this is a wacky, over-the-top haunted house movie about some girls going into this haunted house and some mishap starts happening. It's full of trippy and wacky visuals, really fun and very dated effects, but it's this sense of just hyper energy that I've never really seen any other film really replicate, that I really love about this. Not only do I think this movie is really enjoyable and really fun, but another reason why it's on this list and kind of high on this list was this is kind of my introduction into the Criterion collection. This is a movie a buddy of mine had picked up on Criterion, and I had never seen it, and he's like, you would really love this. So he let me borrow it, and I watched it, and I was like, not only yes, do I love this, and it looks fantastic in terms of like restoration, the quality of the film, but also like the packaging of the film. I was just getting into Blu-ray collecting at that point, like movie collecting, and I really hadn't ventured or looked into like the boutique lineup. Not to mention there wasn't like a ton of labels back then that was doing this kind of thing. But like between the case, the artwork, the fact that you get this nice booklet, like of like art stills, like essays and stuff like that all in here, and the special features, which this one comes with interviews, another film by the director, and a video by Ty West. Like, it just was packed full of stuff, and it made me start to look into Criterion, and then that's been this ever going thing ever since. If you've not watched House or Hausu, I totally recommend it. It is super fun and totally worth a watch.
Coming in at number 3, and this is kind of a no-brainer release. I've seen so many people talk about this film. This film is sometimes number 1, I believe, on the top 250 films on Letterboxd for the narrative features. And this film, for one, its artwork is just, the artwork for this film, or for this particular release, screams what it's about. And this film is from Alim Klimov. His wife actually made the film The Ascent, which is another good release, and that's Come and See. This film is a slow burn. It's another one of those slow burn films. It's a Soviet film. A lot of older Soviet films are slow burn. I would even argue that newer Soviet films are slow burn, just their style of filmmaking. But this film is harrowing. This film, it's just one of those raw, realistic portrayals of war, and it's an anti-war film at the same time. And the last, I would say, 20 or 30 minutes of this film is just, I mean, it's, you know, it is one of those films when you watch it for the first time, that's when you're going to get the experience. I'm sure, you know, if you watch it more times after that, of course, but not knowing what goes on, yeah, this film is an adventure. And this film is actually region A and B, this particular release, which I know a lot of Criterions are region A. A lot of these are region A. Yeah, all these are region A, except for this one. This one's region A and B. So yeah, there's that. But yeah, highly recommend this. It's a World War II film, one of the most disturbing World War II films. Reminded me a little bit of Threads, if you've ever seen the BBC film, just because of how raw and gritty it is.
You can also check out my video of Threads. I did a whole video on it and When the Wind Blows, so if you want to check that out, you can check it out.
And this is another one of those films where it's worth sort of looking up the behind the scenes for, and it's got good supplements as well. This is one of those releases where you can get a lot out of the film, just not even from watching it, but checking out the supplements. And it's also got a pretty interesting booklet as well, with a lot of stuff in it. So this is a really good release. I wish it would have came in one of these packages, like the packaging for this, with the box, but still, great release.
My number 2 of my list is one of my all-time favorite movies. And actually, my number 1 and my number 2 are two films that I would both give a 10 out of 10 to. And my number 2 is Godzilla, the original 1954 Godzilla. I was like, what year is this? I absolutely love this movie. If you're a fan of kaiju movies, this is a must. But this one has something very special to it that I absolutely adore with this case, right? So you open it up and boop! It's a pop-up Godzilla. How cool is that? Boop! Boop, it's a pop-up Godzilla. How sweet is that? Now, this does come into the giant Godzilla Criterion box set that I would also recommend. I wouldn't mind doing like a bigger video on this, but I did have this before the box set ever came out, and I'm keeping this because of the pop-up. Why not, right? It also comes with a little booklet as well, a ton of special features, including both releases of this film, the original in Japanese and then the American version where they just kind of cram in an American actor into cuts. Comes with audio commentary for both films, new interviews with actors, special effects technicians, featurette detailing Godzilla's photographic effects. I mean, yeah, like half of this box in the back are the special features. I'm not going to read them all off. But this movie is awesome, and I honestly think this holds up today. Not only is this like a fun popcorn movie, but it actually has some pretty cool and pretty decent effects for the time that kind of hold up pretty well. The black and white look of this movie actually kind of sells it pretty hard. In Godzilla, I mean, yeah, he's a giant rubber suit smashing around miniatures. What is there not to love about it? I also think the film does a really good job of presenting an environmental hazard message about, like, you know, pollution. It's kind of the whole purpose of this. Actually, it's more about the nuclear testing, but like environmental hazards, right? I live in Ohio. I know what I'm talking about, okay? But in terms of like just old Japanese cinema and kaiju movies, and especially if you're a fan of Godzilla, like this is a must own. It's a perfect movie. Yeah, I know there's flaws technically with it, but there's never been a flaw in this that I've watched that's ever pulled me out of the experience. Most of the flaws in this and a lot of the Godzilla movies are actually a huge part of their charm. And yeah, I adore this movie. Can't recommend it enough.
Coming in at number 2, these two films are probably in my top. Yeah, these are definitely in my top 10 favorite films. Actually, my number 1 is my second favorite film of all time. So, but coming up next at number 2 is Wim Wenders' Paris, Texas. I would arguably say that this release is more essential than the number 1 release the number 1 that I have, just because this film screams Criterion. I feel like this is the essential Criterion release for the most part. I might talk about something else in a second, but yeah, this is I love this film so much. It's got Harry Dean Stanton in it, which is one of my favorite actors ever. He actually grew up near me, which is really cool. And yeah, I would highly recommend this. This is so atmospheric. I love the cinematography for this film. The opening is extremely iconic. And then the scene where they're sitting in the booth, oh man, that is just one of the best scenes that cinema has to offer. And seriously, Wim Wenders is a great director, and I would say this is the essential release, not only for his filmography, but for the Criterion collection. There's also Wings of Desire that's really good as well, but this is a solid release.
My number 1 is by a director who easily could have filled out my entire top 5 with films like Throne of Blood, Yojimbo, Kagemusha, Ikiru. However, The film that I picked from Akira Kurosawa is probably the most obvious choice, and that is Seven Samurai. This is one of those films that like everybody considers a masterpiece, and it does not deserve to ever be called overrated because it is a masterpiece in my opinion. It's a 10 out of 10. I love this movie. This is also spine number 2 in the Criterion collection. Focus in on that. Maybe. But anyway, this is spine number 2. I think this movie is a masterpiece. It's 3.5 hours long. That doesn't feel anywhere near its runtime. It's about a group of samurai banding together to fight off bandits from this village. They're kind of, you know, massively outnumbered. And Akira Kurosawa just shoots this film beautifully. The way the camera moves along with the action is just stunning. This is one of those movies that has like influenced every modern action film in some way or another. Even if it didn't directly influence it, the films that influenced that movie was probably influenced by Seven Samurai. Not only is this film just insanely influential, it also holds up to its competitors even to today's standards. All Seven Samurai have amazing chemistry together on screen. The story is compelling and rich, and like I said, the action set pieces are really, really well done. As for special features, I mean, it has a whole disc dedicated to just special features. It's probably because the feature film took up most of the first disc, I would say, but it also comes with this ginormous booklet with just like a ton of text. This is like one of those like releases where if you want to know anything at all about this movie, you can just buy this set. It's pretty much all included. It's awesome. I'm not going to read off the special features because it's, again, like half of the box on the back. I just realized, too, my top 2 are both from 1954. What a good year for Japanese cinema there. Yeah, I think this film is absolutely amazing. This is 100% a must-watch on any level. Seven Samurai is a masterpiece that is one of the greatest films ever made. And it's my number 1 release by Criterion. I think if you are collecting Criterion, you should have this movie.
And coming in at number 1, Barry Lyndon. This is one of my favorite films ever made. I love this film. This is my favorite Kubrick film. This is my second favorite film ever. It was my number 1, but Texas Chainsaw Massacre dethrones it just because I love that film so much. The cinematography for this, some of the most beautiful cinematography you're going to get in films. This transfer is beautiful. I would love to see a 4K from it. I would love to see it in particular from Criterion. I don't want to say too much about this because this film is a journey. This film is one of those films where it feels a lot longer than it is, at least to me, but I did not mind it because it's just an adventure. This film is absolutely amazing. And that is my top 5 Criterion releases. L.R. Smith had an amazing list as well. I can definitely agree with a lot of the ones that he said. One in particular being The Vanishing. Yeah, that's an amazing film. I would highly recommend it. I'm going to cheat a little bit because there is one Criterion release that I wanted to recommend that I didn't want to put on the list. Night of the Hunter being one of those because there's so many. But and we said no box sets, so I'm sorry, LR, for cheating a little bit. But I just wanted to say the Ingmar Bergman set is definitely worth the purchase, especially if you want to get into Ingmar Bergman's filmography. This set comes with 39 films. Highly recommend getting these because you can get this for $120. So sometimes, usually it's like $150, $200. But yeah, this is highly worth the money. Again, sorry for cheating on this list, but these are my top 5. So, but anyway, I want to thank L.R. Smith for inviting me onto the channel. It means a lot. This is actually, I think, my first collaboration that I've ever done with someone for movies. So it was a lot of fun. Definitely subscribe to his channel. He has really good content. I really enjoy his videos. He takes a lot of time, hell of a lot more time than I do with mine. And also, if you guys want to donate to Pesadilla, please do so. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Maybe subscribe to my channel. Definitely subscribe to his. And see you guys next time.
Thanks again to Dylan Anglin for doing this video with me. It was a lot of fun. There's links in the description to his YouTube channel and to his Indiegogo for Pesadilla. I really enjoyed his first film, The Hunt for August Red, so I'm really curious to see what he can do with Pesadilla, and I'm pretty excited for it. So if you want to support that, definitely check it out down in the description below. I also really enjoy his YouTube content. He talks a lot about movies, ranking directors, kind of like movie discussions and stuff. He makes some really great content, so definitely check it out as well. And thanks again for doing the video with me. If you want to support my content as well, you can like, subscribe, and share the video. I also have channel memberships open if you want to check out what those have to offer for now. I might be changing them around, but they're there if you're interested in them, and I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.
Take it easy.
Camarader shaft actually probably would have been a cool one to put into this video. Comrade Shaft, pretty good. Hey Criterion, if you ever watch this, can you do a Blu-ray of this? This movie's amazing. Tangerines, it's totally up your alley. Like, it's like dead on the spot with Criterion Collection. It's amazing. If you're not seeing Tangerines, it will make you cry. My Salo has a mark on it.